game number 1. So we're back on even footing right here, and let's see what goes in. But the one thing though, if the Frenchman wins this one, then Jona has to play against Optimus again.
Exactly, because if the Frenchman wins, he advances to the next group stage, and then Jona goes on to the decider match, where Optimus is already waiting. So we'll see a regame of the two Dutch players. But, of course, we're not there yet, because GenjiTakiya is only up 1 game. This does mean, of course, that he is on match point against Jona. But anything could still happen. There's 1 or maybe 2 games more coming up in this series.
Alright, Jona is opting to go for the spawning pool first, which I understand. I've seen some cheesy cannon rushes on this map, some really crazy all-ins from the Protoss player, and I feel like it's an okay decision to go for that spawning pool first. And we already see a probe moving across the map, so it could make something happen with the Overlord does spot it though, so that's gonna be okay. We have a gateway first with a gas, so I really like the builds from these 2 players so far, and looks like the expansion will be laid down from Jona, so no one base shenanigans from him this game. I wouldn't have expected that though.
No. I think both builds are on the safe side of the spectrum. Which I guess is understandable from both Jona, because it's match point, so he needs to be careful, as well as Takiya, because he's just had a 6 pool, had to face against a 6 pool, so he wants to make sure not to die against something cheesy like that in game 2.
Yeah, when you looked at this this group, you see GenjiTakiya. I mean, it's not one of the guys you would expect to end first, so this is a really big game for him. I mean, if you can end first in your group, you already take a good shot at and ending up, in a favorable match after that, because I think the first players get ranked up against the second players from the other groups, right?
Yes, they do. It actually does help if you advance as first from your group, because your seed in the second group stage will be determined by your rank in the first group stage. So definitely, yes, it does matter if you advance first or second.
Yep, and we have some questions from the chat. Hubinator, cool you're joining us during these games, but he's asking why we're casting from replay. Well, that's just because it's big groups, you can't get all of these guys together, right, Frank? It's really hard to do.
It's basically a planning issue, yes. There's 32 players. We have set times on which we want to do the broadcasts, and there's no way that we can get all these players in a certain sequence on the right times online to play their matches against each other. We are going to try to do that for the second group stage, though. There's only going to be 4 groups. We know what the times are in which we want to broadcast those games, so we're going to ask the players whether they can be available at those times to play the games live, which of course does add to the excitement. Speaking of excitement, we see a little bit of a push from the Protoss player at the Natcher from Jona here. The Zerglings were trying to surround the Stalker, but good micro from GenjiTakiya prevented that. And of course, his units can now retreat.
Yep, GenjiTakiya, the warlord from Japan, is sending his units on a very successful mission so far, and you can already see this Stalker might get trapped though. Nope, nice. Good micro once again, but the second one, no, he's gonna free it, and he's taking out a lot of these Zerglings with minimum cost right now, just a little bit of damage on one of these Stalkers. He could also pick off this Queen, because it's Alpha Free right now, and that would be a big win for him. I mean, Jona's losing a lot right here.
This had not been a good trade for Jona, like you said, and losing queens in the early game is very suckish for Zerg players, because they depend on queens to, inject larvae to the hatcheries, get some extra units out. So losing them is very tough. And of course, Jona also lost the very first creep tumor that this queen put down. So that means that his creep spread will also be delayed. And GenjiTakiya now thinking better of it and retreating his units, which of course is nice, because he's done damage, taken hardly any damage, and now retreats to prevent him from taking damage.
Best analysis ever, Frank.
That's it.
But we do have a port and a gateway at the front, so it looks like Genji wants to take it a little bit slower from this point on. Jona is putting down his own third base, so he's in an okay position at that regard. He's already spreading the creep. Very important to get the creep tumors towards that third base he's taking, so he can defend it a little bit better. There are some Zerglings poking at the front, but I don't think they're going to do that much. They will take down the Zealot though, which is a little bit of a win.
Revenge! Is what finally. The Zerglings said. Or the Ultralisk, I should say. What's this?
Yep, everything is an Ultralisk in Frank world.
Alright, so this Overlord has been scouting with impunity, as Wyman would say. But now there's a Stalker there. You think this... this Overlord is gonna go down.
Yep. But he does see the extra gateways that were laid down, so it gets a little bit of information. You know what the funny thing is? Jona already replaced that Overlord by another sacrificial Overlord on the left-hand side. I like that.
Yep, Jona is very well prepared, but is he prepared for the pylon that is now going up right next to the third base from Jona? Yeah, there are some Zerglings running around. Oh yeah, Jona is very diligent when it comes to scouting for proxies, so he's definitely gonna scout this really soon. He spotted the 2 Zealots and will now be able to react to this accordingly. These
Will
2
he
Zealots
be able to react though? Because there are 12 roaches on the way, but they're not out yet. They're gonna come out from all the bases across the map. There are two queens, but they're not gonna defend this right now, Frank. He needs to buy a little bit of time. He's doing that by luring the army away, but he needs those roaches there right now.
Ooh, force fields. Actually, a great time warp going down as well. Oh, the front 3 roaches get cut off from the rest of the army. Mothership core in danger of going down though.
Yep, the mothership core is getting really low, and these force fields are alright. He's taking out a lot of roaches, but the roaches did reinforce all together. Now with the queens, he should have a significant army to push it back, and he will, and that's very good. It was a little bit scary there. I feel like if Genji would have just targeted the hatchery while the roaches weren't there, he might have been able to get it.
Yeah, I think so too.
And now he's gonna try to poke in and out a little bit, but he sees there's a lot of roaches right now from Jona, and he's in a lot better position. Robobane being laid down right now by the Protoss player to get some Immortals out, but it's gonna be 3 base against 2 base, and I feel like Jona is a lot better in that situation than what we saw early game here.
Alright. No more proxy pylon for you. Of course, except for the one right above it, but you know.
There's always another proxy pylon, right?
Well, not if you play me. There we go.
Why is that? I'm interested in that.
I'm not too good at keeping my proxy pylons either a secret or alive. So, yep. If I play at all, that is.
Just make pylons everywhere. All the cool kids do it. Jona does see that there's no third base from the Protoss player right now. You can see on the map that he has a Zergling at each base of his opponent. I feel like Genji wants to take that third base, so he's gonna take out the Zergling, and that could prompt a little bit of a reaction with the roaches and the Zerglings. We're gonna have to see. We have 10 roaches on the way right now, a lot of overlords. Roach speed is almost done, and Burrow is also close to completing, so I feel like Jona wants to hit a timing here.
Yep. Of course, Burrow can definitely help you if you just burrow the roaches that are weakened. They will start regenerating. Of course, not that fast because he doesn't have tunneling claws yet, right?
I don't think so. I mean, I can check the upgrades. He doesn't have tunneling claws right now. No, he has Zergling speed, roach speed, and he has burrow. But it's still going to be very useful because you can keep the weakened roaches alive by burrowing them, and they're going to heal up very fast. And tunneling claws is, in fact, on the way. So I like that from Jona, but he's going to find that other proxy pylon. And you know what, Frank? There is no other proxy pylon.
Not anymore. Alright, Overseer going into GenjiTakiya's main base, spotting the Twilight Council, researching Blink. Of course, he doesn't know whether it is Blink, but it's either that or a charge, I guess. So here we go. Overlord now spots the empty, basically.
We're gonna have a little bit of push in here from Jona. I mean, he tried to at least. A good time warp prevents him really from pushing in, getting a good concave there, but I feel like Genji feels a little bit stressed here. The Zerglings are trying to move across, but they're gonna get picked up.
Ooh, yeah, the Zerglings took a bit of a strange route there, past all the stalkers that were shooting at them. There we go. There's a bit of a pincer going on from Jona, but not that good one. I think the angles for GenjiTakiya and Jona are equivalent right now. And,
but it's just stalkers. There's no real sentries. There's nothing to defend these guys. And I mean, Jona is not trading horribly here. He's taking out a few stalkers. It's all right, but I feel like Genji still built this up pretty good with the Blink micro.
Yep, I think this sucks for Jona because now he's lost basically most of his army. Didn't get the chance to use tunneling claws, burrowed right underneath an observer, and now it's 3 base against 3 base, and Jona does not have any plans to make a 4th base, and is in fact now in danger of losing his own 3rd.
Yep, and I mean 2-0 upgrades against no upgrades at all from Jona as well, so that's not gonna help either. And I feel like he needs a lot of Zerglings or something to build through, because there's no force fields right now. If you can get a surround, sure they're gonna blink, but the Zerglings are gonna do a lot better than the Roach. But he's making 16 Roaches right now, but I don't feel like it's gonna be enough. And the 3rd base is up and running right now for Genji.
Exactly. If you look at the income tab, it's very close, and GenjiTakiya is actually up in the gas income because Jona hasn't taken the gases on his 3rd base yet. So yeah, I do feel that Jona is in a bit of a pickle.
Well, I mean, the pathogen glands, the infestors, they're gonna be key to holding attacks like this, because that forces the Protoss to engage on your terms. You can't blink out of a fungal growth. But it's gonna be a little bit too late, I feel like, because he's already pushing a little bit across the map here. There's 3 queens there. They're gonna help a lot in actually keeping those roaches alive and spreading the creep right there. But Genji has the upper hand here. We can't deny that. Just by upgrades alone, it's gonna be... He's already like 1/4 into finishing 3-0 against no upgrades at all.
Yep, there's only one upgrade for ranged attack for Zurich. This is gonna hurt, and of course we have the first infestors coming out now, which will pop right after the pathogen glands upgrade finishes, so they will pop with enough energy to cast a fungal growth right away. But 3 fungal growths, will that be enough to stop this army if it attacks? And well, it is posturing dangerously.
It's good. I mean, the stalkers are a little bit low health as well. There's like 8 of those stalkers already on low health. There's no real tech to speak of. But once the Colossus come out and he starts getting like an army with 2 or 3 Colossus behind these stalkers, then it's not gonna happen anymore. But right now Jona could still, I think he could take down that army if he has good fungal growth.
Alright, some burrowed roaches approaching the natural, but there is both a Colossus and a detecting cannon there, so it's gonna be not a very good time for these roaches.
I feel like this is a win for Jona though, because he does spot the fact that there is a Colossus, which is pretty big. But there's actually going to be a pretty big push out here as well from the front rank, and the Colossus is not positioned ideally right now. And these fungal growths, we're going to have to see if they can make it work, and the first one is perfect.
Very good one.
Should be alright as well, but not to that actually. Blinked out of that one, but it's not going super.
Nah, I'm not liking this position. All these roaches bunched up against 3 cannons there. Yeesh.
Yep, and the queens were a little bit too slow. They couldn't really make a difference in that battle. I mean, Jona didn't trade that bad. Like, from a Zerg perspective, he killed a lot of Protoss. But he doesn't have the money or the income to really, like, complement that, to make another push, make another wave, rebuild those units. He's 3 base against 3 base, and that's really hurting right now.
Yeah, and not even with full gases still for Jona. So this is going to be a tough call, and of course another warp prism in the main base now, warping in some zealots. Jona is going to have to deal with this. Which will give the GenjiTakiya more room to breathe at his 3rd base, and actually he uses this time to attack.
Yeah, I feel like what I mentioned. Once he gets 2 or 3 Colossus, and he has 2 right now, then there's gonna be a window where there's no corruptors, there's nothing to do with the Colossus. The roaches are just going to melt. The fungal growth is not going to help either, and the queens are okay, but there's not an abundance of them. And actually, look at this. He's taking a 4th base next to the Zerg opponent.
Man, in your face, Zerg opponent. I'm Protoss and I'm taking a 4th base. And at this time, there is nothing basically that Jona can do about it. He's making roaches, which again is not the kind of unit that you'd like to be making if your opponent is building Colossi and has lots of stalkers. Of course, there's no immortals here, but I feel that with these upgrades, this army is more than capable of dealing with what Jona has got on the map right now.
I mean, Jonas is obviously going for Vipers, because he's adding the Hive, and I don't think it could be for anything except Vipers right now.
Maybe some Overlords.
Some Overlords. I think it should be Vipers. He wants to fill in the Colossus and win an engagement decisively, but the engagement is going to happen way before that, I feel like. I mean, Genji is going to see this army. He's not going to be intimidated by this. Sure, there's a few fungal growths. Fungal growth's actually pretty good, but the Colossus are doing so much damage right now, Frank.
Yeesh. Oh, definitely. But are they getting focused by the roaches?
They might be, but the roaches are gonna die.
Nope, yeah. These roaches not liking. Oh, there's one stray Colossus here.
Yeah. That gets killed, but you have to realize that he has trio upgrades on those Colossus. You know, a lot of damage output from this Protoss player, and also good blink micro. Have to credit that to Genji, and it looks like Genji might he should actually take 1st place here. That's incredible. Wow. That's a big upset, Frank.
That is definitely a big upset. So we see GenjiTakiya from France, our Protoss player, making a bit of an upset here. So it's not going to be 2 Dutch players advancing today. Our French Protoss player is the first.